Yeah, hi everybody. A huge respect to the previous guy. Hardening and the golden images would be the great things. It's a 7 p.m. and it's a full house still. My name is Nikolai. I'm the head of the T-Bank infrastructure safety. We will tell about your contractors and how to do the hardening of your contractors so that you would be safe and sound. Let's begin by saying why is it important? Because attacks through the third parties and your contractors in the last couple of years, everybody knows what is going on. They've become the most popular in terms of metrics of how we are being attacked. Why? Well, the efficiency of the attacks of the third-party attacks now is very high because when the supplier is being attacked, you don't know what's going on. This guy is doing good, and then all of a sudden, they have been compromised, and we've learned, and he's already in our infrastructure. It's hard to find the attackers, and again, all of this usually starts with a trusted partner. We need to sooner, tomorrow. Do we have an emergency? Let's do this very soon. And what's the level of cybersecurity with this partner? A couple of examples in 2024, even back in 2023, some of the famous global cases like Snowflake is a big global provider. They are processing and storing data, and many of our global IT brands, and IBM, HP and stuff. In 2024, it was attacked through the contractor. 500 million have been stolen of different users' data, and 50 biggest players and the shares have kind of dropped. Amazon has had the same situation a year later. They have stolen internal data of a contractor, data of Amazon, basically about employees, quite sensitive data, and some other organizations that have been part of their infrastructure. So all in all, why is this happening? Why? Because there is a very light and insufficient encryption of infrastructure, data leak from clients, because we're working with the government right now, reputational, regulatory risks, and also the company's shares are plunging, depending on what kind of company it is. Some examples of those big providers in Europe which have been compromised through their suppliers, and the guys would have their business stalling. The main part is usually contractors connecting into your system. There are two types: people who do something and we give them remote access, or when our partners we try to work server to server, or maybe some government officials who you have to let into your infrastructure. Because it's a regulatory the thing. Well, first of all, let's work with the third-party contractors who we employ or contract. This is how we began, and this is how we made it straight. You remember the time of pandemic. Who of you back in 2020 was removing everybody to remote channels? Half of your audience. At the same time, in kind of emergency mode, all the works that we needed to do, we also would invite integrators and some kind of contractors, companies, and individual entrepreneurs, and you name it, private contractors. So, here we have a huge tunnel with a big integrator. Here is a VPN, and employees are coming. We limit them, but globally, we have no idea what kind of device they may be using. And then the SOC is coming in and saying we have some kind of unhealthy activity, and the wide network accesses. Why? Because we give to supplier the access through the system. The system is gone, infrastructure has changed, but the access still remains, and contractor is still working in the system. Usually, in the meantime, teams are changing. You interview them and you say, "Hey, something is not right here." We begin to migrate into the targeted schemes of the remote access. The single rules of the game for all of our contractors. There are three big points. It's like a guideline. Number one, profiling. Number two, recertification, and a specific functionality. We've taken a closer look, like we have a specialization in infrastructure. Maybe you do the profiling by the teams, by the comments. In our case, it's a specialization. We've had like 70-80 specialization for contractors, the front-end developers and QE, analytics, or whoever, sitting in, some people sitting in the accountant's office. And they need a different approach in terms of access, because developers need one access, the admins have a different level of access, and people from the accounting office, they do not need any access at all. So we recertified access, and we begin to understand what's going on, because it's all related to VPNs and modern VPNs. It's not Cisco, ICE, and others. So we've taken big profiles of those access lists. We looked at their active coming. 80% of these accesses which have never been audited, we cut it off, and leave like a small granulated, way when they can come in. And every 3 months we've had a recertification happening for them. There's another type of contractors, like operational guys who are going to certain like web forms, like a CRM systems, and we do not understand their functionality, and we do not want to keep them in the infrastructure. We want to, publish the web service out of the perimeters. These guys do not go into our infrastructure. They live at the perimeter. Goodbye. This is where you're gonna live. And the second part is moving them to the targeted access schemes, when we understand what we can do, how we can profile them, how we can attribute them. Number one, cut off everything excessive, okay, but sometimes we forget to do that. The second situation is legal aspects. I'm going to give you a bit more detail, but we have external development. People need to be provided access, and development is heavy, and I cannot just give me a web access. They need Docker, they need this and that. So we've developed legally it in such a way that if we have external development, we give them like our laptop and saying, you're going to work only from this laptop. We have our InfoSec system and hardening all the close infrastructure. We say, legally we had to improve it, that basically it's an external company. We provide hardware and we give it for free, and then if the contract is over, this equipment stays, and contractor like our MacBooks or Linux books, they may buy it off. We're going to clean it up and we're going to just dump it to them, for almost for pennies. All of this was a result of these targeted schemes. A small ad of our external service. It's Unitro. It's actually free. You can come. It's a very cool server indeed. So the contractors basically were split up into big two parts. Number one, profiles related to development, where we understand that contractors are doing something in the infrastructure, code related, or these guys, they cannot be put except on the laptop. Okay, guys, this is a laptop. We protect you as our employee. If you want, you can later on buy out this laptop, or we can get it back. Operational functions, it's easier. Most of the operational functions, when we begin to do recertification, it turns out about 80% of our contractors, they do not need any access to our infrastructure. We've limited them on external publications, and part of them, we're giving them like different work desks. Our system of protection kind of very deep, like it's a thin work desk, and see the profile, like for example accounting. Okay, this is like the piece of 1S accounting system. If you're a journalist and PR, whatever, this is the little piece of this gyro, wiki, and maybe some internal design, admin design. So we were able to limit it according to the NGWF, and we can also granulate, and now we recertified. So we have basically about 3 types of accesses, and out of them another 45 profiles, which we can see, and we can basically to do ongoing recertification and cut off the excessive part. Our next plans, not so many, but we are going into the concept of zero trust. It has been already mentioned many times before. Access to a contractor, just a general recommendation, minimum time with a maximum limitation of functionality, just enough for them to do their job. So we give them the access for 3 months, then we block them, and we forget like they do not exist. The work is done? Okay. And the first part. The second point is our contractors are not using their own devices. Forget about the old ones, because otherwise, it's a problem. Instead of one contractor will have like 200 people who will be using all kinds of devices, and then it's coming really to a bad situation. Endpoint hardening is one more case we're looking at and we're developing right now. When we first began to do the profiling, we turned out that we have tech support with different vendors, and they're neither part of the profiled contractors nor operational story. And those guys, when we begin to look at the profile, they're launching maybe 1 or 2 apps. They have like a diagnostics, maybe some Chrome, and that's it. For these kind of clients or categories, we've released protected Linux. We're making like a kiosk Linux Chromebooks, and that's it. They're gonna just launch a couple of programs and nothing else. We'll like it too. The second part, which is shorter, I will try to cut down our time because it's getting late. It's integration with partners. I think like a very short guideline and scheme of how we're moving towards this whole situation. Classical 6 items. If we have partnership integration, I guess with most of you do have your own integrations. Like, how do you begin? Identify type of your integration, some kind of API, and most of the integrations are doing through the web API, service to service. Also, we have other options with the government and quasi-government organization or a government regulator, you name it. This will be CTP and then others on CFTP and other domestic cryptography that we are installing. And also, how do we do this? We've identified the types, okay, and let's prepare infrastructure. To do that, we need to understand what kind of commands we need to know. The network guys, infrastructure guys, and people from the teams who are willing to do the development. And this provides some good results, especially when the development team, you come to the development team and say, guys, we have these security issues. Do it really well. They say like, yeah, cool. Next stage will be audit of existing tunnels and their description. If you have a big tunnel, I think many of you existed. A big recommendation is try to keep it in described form, maybe in some kind of machine reading form. YAML file, and any changes of them can result in different controls identifying it. For example, we have a new channel which have not been approved, have not been audited, and it goes like to China, this channel, and so identify the DMZ zone, we're talking about the ghost Russian standard, and this could be also regulators and these kind of things which we cannot take from outside the perimeter. And also using the services through the API gateways. If we want to be friend of our partners through the web, if API to API, that would be great to have just one gateway where we are going to do this. The single point of control is great. At least it's not going to be spreading all over perimeter. We're not looking what it is, especially if this is super convenient. And maximum isolation of the connection zone. A couple of diagrams speaking about the service situation, as it was mentioned before about API integration and so on. We have such a great story within the company. We call it therapy, and the guys understood that too many API integrations, we need to aggregate them, and basically it's a turnkey API as a service. So any service, when integrating with external partner, if needed, They are making in Git just one node. They fill up YAML and put it in the pipeline. You have a checklist for information security. The handle has been published, we're working, we have controls, we can see it, the system is protected. And the service is also working through the gateway, nothing is going to happen with it. Now, with the partners, DMZ, the endpoint of termination, we also have this through GitOps and also building controls, and actually, we also want to use this API gateway when we need very strong connections, usually going back to these public services or regulators. In fact, going back to the beginning, I want to sum up what I said before. We began by that it's very difficult, like why? It's difficult to identify attacks through the contractors and third parties. Because look, it's a migration within your infrastructure. For the banks, it's more difficult. For the bigger companies, it's much difficult to identify. And because you invest in IT since 2022, we've been a little bit detached from the world at the same time. Quite effectively, we're trying to defend ourselves, and the growth of the probability that we could be compromised through the phishing, it is not that high as through third parties. Yeah, well, these are my conclusions. I want to say that probably it will be the end. The vector attack through the contractors do not underestimate it. We do understand and know that contractors, especially small business, they are the way less protected. The smaller companies do not have resources, and oftentimes they do not understand that they need to invest in their own security. And they come to us almost every time, every day. A lot of contractors, a lot of third parties, and sometimes it's shrinking, but for seasonal projects even, it's different. What I would like to say in the final words, we have to learn, we have to have like a targeted ways of connecting contractors, like developer comes, or I don't know, PR team comes, like we want to do the new project. Okay, these are targeted schemes, go ahead, we trust them. It's number one. The second one, access management, always access, and to do minimize access and do it temporary. As soon as contractor came, we gave them minimum rights, and we'll limit them time-wise, all of their credentials that we have in accounts. And the second factor, of course, in the modern world, trend of 2025, passwordless protection and shortened session. Oftentimes in a company that the rights are limited and you do the two-factor authentication, and the session duration is like 48 days, and they thought that contractor was like disconnected, but they're keeping active session. And of course, you know that this implementation of Chika, TI, if any of our partners has been compromised, it would be good to know it before they will try to dig into our infrastructure. We've learned about that from our colleagues, from TI, from the paid services. It's better to be over vigilant and cut them off, and then we'll try to understand what happened to them. And this helped us more than once. I'm done. We're always looking for cool colleagues. Thank you, and thank you for sitting. It's almost 7:30 p.m. It's very great. Any questions for Nikolai? Yes, go ahead. Where's our microphone? Hey, good night. My name is Alex from Eskona. We have the similar pain, like almost identical with your company. And this is what we came up with. We put everybody, you know what PAM is, so we put the PAM probably, or PM. We've decided to put all of our contractors, and we got the control, manageability, and visibility. How do you evaluate this kind of approach in addition to all of the contractors are just waiting out there because we can see what they do and how much they do and how much it really costs? What do you think about this kind of approach? What are pros and cons? Because we're asking colleagues. You know, we do not know anybody else would be as tough as ourselves. That's a great story. I like it, but simply it's a cost of execution. If you have some kind of development or admins, okay, it makes sense. You know, the cost of solution will be like maybe a laptop or cheaper. If we're speaking about some kind of designers, they do not even go into your infrastructure, or this is like one of your MPO, you're gonna one window. Probably it's gonna be more expensive. So we thought about the thin work tables. It was even cheaper than giving them laptop. No, I mean about 80% we decided to give up VPNs. We gave up VPNs, you know. We've published EPAM, like a public service, and this is cool, this is great. I mean, yeah, the gateway. We published it as a public service, we defended it the way it should be as a public service, but so far the most negative part would be the reaction of the contractors. Everybody's complaining, writing to the FSB, Federal Security Service, and etc. Why? Well, because now we can see we have a reporting, we have logging of the sessions, and there are a lot of things to finish up. But this is the system that we're having. Actually, perimeter gateways where you can do the PAM is actually great. It's great. A lot of PAM open source instruments, and many are doing this, and these are great solutions as well. Yeah, right there. And while the mic is being delivered, the first comment is, Alex, we are waiting for you to deliver the presentation next year when you will share your experience. And yeah, and the second part I want to say is that the final report today in the IT infrastructure today, this will also be shared about PAMs, about this technology. You haven't mentioned about this. It's remote browsers. So if somebody is really interested, stay with us until the end. Yeah, we can say there's no point of going home. You know, let's stay. Nobody leaving. Let's stay for a couple more days. Thank you for your presentation. My question is, you said that every 3 months you recheck your contractors and access. How do you do this kind of technical organizational things? I've explained. I mean, the technical part of it. If we're speaking about the network access, there, number one part is contractors. Every 40 days, each contractor is getting like the information. Say, do you need these guys at all or not? Those who are connected to us, and then we can double check those guys, like for example, who have been fired, who have been laid off. You know that sometimes the contractors have fired some people. We do not know about that. We are doing this once in a while by auto check. If after auto check we ask if within 10 days no response, that means that this contractor is being blocked. It's easier to unblock them than to keep these active credentials we know nothing about. The second part about the network. Users' traffic, be it thin tables or VPN or what have you, comes through the NGFW, and we then RC were trying to use these profiles which were on Jiffy, and if we see that 80% have been used, 20% no. Sometimes it's like a Python scripts read note. Sometimes it's automated. I'll tell that not everything is like super automated yet, but we're trying to automate it fully. Sounds good. Thank you. Yeah, the third and final question, please. Thanks. It's a different topic. Just interesting, 25,000 rubles, a couple $100 is today to get illegal information from the bank. Do you have any department to be able to find some kind of weak spot of those who may be selling your information? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And the guys from the red team have spoken about that 2 hours before. You can look into your recording. Nikita Medvedev shared about this, like illegally trading, basically selling information from the company. Yes, I'm gonna check it again. Thanks. Thank you, and let's give a round of applause.
The book for the best question. Yeah, the book is going to be stimulating. Yeah, listen about Ascona next year.